What is post-classical? Part 2. Like I said before, there's a lot of answers to this, and I'm probably going to have to take various shots at answering them at different times. This one's about the arrow of history, specifically how the arrow of history has hit a wall and shattered, and composers can finally now just pick up whatever pieces they think are shiny. Stay with me a sec. Let's zoom out. Over the last 400 years or so that we've had a Western classical music tradition, we can see a tendency toward greater harmonic complexity, larger ensembles, and more dissonance. And one thing I really love about this is how this parallels the way we thought about structure and hierarchy in society during each era. But that's a different video. So overall, we go like Bach, Mozart, Beethoven, Brahms, Chopin, Debussy, Schoenberg, George Crumb. And as we go, the harmonic language is getting more and more complex to the point where it can't really get any more complex within the musical system we have. Why did it get more complex? At first, it was essentially people finding cool new tricks, like, hey, if I use this nice flavor chord here, it really adds to what I'm trying to do with a piece. But then over time, people start to notice, hey, harmonies are getting more complex. What can I do as a composer to push that even further forward and do something new with harmony? And that's the point where you stop discovering cool tricks and start inventing things that make people pay attention to you or value your music somehow. Like I would say the 12-tone system, which Schoenberg said would, and I quote, assure the supremacy of German music for the next 100 years. So this is kind of peak arrow of history where people see a line going, and they kind of try to extend that line as far as it can go without really answering, is this music connecting with people in any meaningful way? Like, is music getting less bound to the idea of a tonal center? What happens if we go all the way and completely disregard the idea of a tonal center? And that's fine as an experiment, but maybe not as a guiding principle for how composition should happen today. So this sort of line extending happened partially because of music becoming incredibly academic, where you don't just compose, you need to have theories about what you're composing. And partially, believe it or not, because of the Marshall Plan, but that's another video. So we had this long period where classical music had sort of run off a cliff like Wile E. Coyote and just didn't notice that people didn't respond to it like they used to, or they kind of noticed, but they didn't really know how to fix it. It's been an incredibly long time coming for this new generation of composers to finally throw off Adorno's Ghost or whatever and be like, fuck it, I am writing stuff that sounds good again. There was a real effort, of course, to do this in the 60s and 70s with the minimalists, who, of course, were really popular with real people and completely snobbed upon by the establishment. But now, finally, there's this collective move, not back in time, which is how the serialists would have seen it, but away from the idea of there being an arrow of history at all. Any trick you find from anywhere in the history of music is yours to pick up and use if it moves you, if you think it's shiny or fun or connects with you in some way. So that's the sense in which we are post-classical, that we're done with this idea that a new piece has to progress music in some way, and instead emphasizing connecting with the listener.